All right, let's kick this off. Nice to see you all here. Nick from Cointelegraph. I'm going to be your moderator for today. The topic is achieving mass adoption in crypto. We have an amazing lineup of speakers over here. So would you guys like to kick this off with a round of introductions? And how do you contribute to the crypto mass adoption?
Hi, everybody. Rena from Gitcoin. For those of you who don't know who we are in the protocol, app, and program committed to funding public goods, specifically in OSS and the Ethereum ecosystem. Part of the initiative that we have in terms of funding mass adoption is, you're going to hear me say this so many times, so I'm just going to apologize right now, is our community. So our boots on the ground, what we've got for the people that are receiving funding from our donors, and then working with some of our partners to make sure that they understand how to run around in the most easiest way possible, therefore funding more public goods.
Cool. My name is Rene Reinsberg. Anyone?
I think it's not on.
Lights turn on. Oh. Perfect.
Wow, that did the trick. Okay, my name is Rene Reinsberg. I'm one of the founders of Celo. Celo is a layer 1 blockchain that is becoming a layer 2 on Ethereum. It is one of the, usually in the top 10 of most used chains in terms of active wallets, and a lot of that is people in the global south transacting peer-to-peer payments, merchant payments, microcredit, a lot of use cases that are near and dear to our heart and our mission to bring prosperity to everyone. Excited to chat about this. It's good. It's gonna be fun.
Great. I'm next. My name is Maarten. I'm from Startale. Startale itself is not like a well-known company, but we are the company that's behind different protocols. One is being Astar Network. They are the leading chain in the Polkadot ecosystem, but we are also the company behind Soneium, where we are working together with Sony Group on building out the L2 on Ethereum with OPs.
Okay, last but not least. So, my name is Nicola. I'm from Italy, 24-year-old. And for the last 3 years, I've been working on something called ETHOS. It's basically an operating system which natively supports Ethereum and other protocols. And right now we are working on something a little bit more exciting, which is the Legion 1, our first hardware device, which comes with the newest version of our OS. Has a lot of cool features like light nodes, integrated OS, system level wallet, and local LLM, and much more. So I think we started this project because we thought there was a very, very, very lacking UX experience on mobile, and our mission is to improve that and contribute to open source in that regard.
I did not expect that coming. Can you hold it for the whole panel?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Do we get one?
What?
Being on the panel, is that what it is? Is that our prize?
Yeah, kind of. All right, cool. The next question of mine is, what are the most significant challenges in terms of the mass crypto adoption that the crypto community is facing? And how do you guys handling those challenges? Maybe you would like to speak about the community.
Would. Especially after coming off that last panel, I think that there's a lot of things to consider when thinking about mass adoption. Of course, we've got our developers. As Stephen had just said, even that's a little bit tricky. They only care about security and privacy. But as we start to think about adoption, we also need to think about the people that are using it. We need to practice radical empathy. I'm pretty sure a lot of people in underserved communities or moms that are living in northern parts of Canada give a shit about bridging. They don't want to know what the transaction fees are. They want to basically have something that's easy for them to use and easy for them to explain. And what I see a lot testing in Gitcoin when we're doing it as a group, my own contributors have a hard time sometimes understanding what's going on. Why do they need to bridge from one chain to another to donate to a grant? What is the calculations behind the matching that we're doing? And I think it's really important that we start to strip away the obfuscation of that front end to make it easier for users to adopt, as well as finding common nomenclature and common standards like we have in Web 2 in terms of accessibility, in terms of legibility, and definitions around what we're doing. I think a lot of people get really nervous being around crypto and then being told that the block sizes are bigger, and therefore if they bridge from Arbitrum to another chain that they're going to have faster transaction fees. Freaks people out. And I think that there are ways to make it easier and more accessible for people to start using our products, which means that we'll actually get more adoption and more opportunities to make things easier for everyone to test on.
I think like there is another challenge that Gitcoin faces is that your community is really diverse. So it's developers, but it's also like retail users that like, for example, users of your Gitcoin passport. How do you tackle that in terms of maybe there's specific messaging that you use to communicate with the community?
Yeah, no, it's a great question because it actually goes even more internationally than that. For those of you coming from Asia or from other different countries, North America, I myself have lived in Asia for a number of years. The UX and the expectations of our users are completely different in every nationality. And so where I get on my soapbox with the Grant Stack UI is figuring out ways that find that common ground and making it easier for users to access it. Passport, which is no longer part of Gitcoin, was actually a really great user experience. I have a ton of people that come up and say, I live in this country and I couldn't use Passport because I can't get Coinbase. Well, I can't either, and I'm Canadian. And so figuring out ways to make it so that Passport scores or donations, obviously remaining within OFAC and all the other legalities, you can find that middle ground for the users. And that's kind of been where we're going from to expand out from there.
Yeah, I'm Ukrainian. I also cannot get it, but let's not get let's not get into legislation stuff, right? Rene, what about you guys?
Yeah, I agree with those. I mean, I'm going to give three, two technical and one non-technical. The technical side, I think, with Celo, we've been since the beginning very focused on mobile. Most people access the internet on a mobile phone, not a desktop computer, yet most of the industry is still building for desktops, right? So we've tried to make a conscious effort to, just have everyone in the ecosystem think about, hey, how does this work on a mobile device? And not just any mobile, not an iPhone, right? But like a low-end Android ideally. And I think that's really, we've seen some kind of direct impact in terms of the numbers. So Uniswap on Celo mostly used, from mobile users versus on most other chains, it's the inverse. The second one is on and off ramps. I think that's becoming less of sort of like a secret, right? With the recent Stripe acquisition of Bridge, like on and off ramping is super important. We've invested in this for many, many years. A lot of this is like local ecosystem, right? Finding local partners, helping them get started and growing. And so today, if you want to on and off ramp in, say, Nigeria or Kenya, to stables like USDT or some of the other local stables on Celo, you can do so in 30 seconds, and actually for those two countries even at no fee, which is pretty incredible. And it's a massive change from even like a few months ago when that wasn't possible. And then the third one is this, right? It's like crypto's useless. I mean, that's really what still is sort of that, what most people think when they hear crypto. So we started this campaign, here, and you may have been seeing some of these hats, right? Kind of just demystifying that and, giving people concrete examples of where it's actually not useless. Did I say useful or useless? It's late. Yeah, I'm like, whatever. So yeah, crypto's useless unless you want to send someone money on the weekend, right? Or unless you're stuck in a place with high inflation. There's all these examples, and we have this little campaign going at our booth at Devcon where people, post sort of their example and they get the hat or a shirt. And it's amazing to look through the list of things that people are sharing. And even for someone in this space, right, it's great to see that. And it's like, we need more of those stories out in the world because, most of us talking to our friends outside of this room, outside of the industry, it's like, you're still doing this crypto thing? That's changing now as of this week, I know. But
Yeah, it's like my mom thinks I work in Bitcoin, right?
Yeah,
I sell purses out of the back of a truck.
I think that's on all of us to just go against that narrative finally and break through, right? That this is actually useful tech.
Cool. You actually mentioned an interesting thing about accessibility, and it's impossible to speak about the mass adoption of crypto without mentioning the emerging markets, like Africa, for example, with all the problems with the cross-border payments. What's your take on the best, I would say, use cases where the crypto would, increase the adoption in the emerging markets, and maybe you guys kind of contribute to it yourselves?
Yeah, one thing we've really been seeing take off this year is, dollar stablecoin wallets, but then not just having those to, save in dollars versus maybe local currency, which is inflationary, but also being able to use those wallets in a local context. And we've had a few team members go out to East Safari earlier this year, and, usually, like even last time I was there, at the airport, I would buy a local SIM card, set up an M-Pesa account just so I can buy a bottle of water, right? But now with, some of the wallets on Celo, like MiniPay from Opera, you can just use your wallet and, go to the local store and directly pay. Anywhere where M-Pesa is accepted, you can use it to pay with, say, USDT for the bottle of water. That's, I think, a real game changer because now, even just that use case of someone traveling to a different country and having that convenience is quite powerful. And, it turns using that wallet more into a habit versus just having a wallet to hodl, different tokens.
Cool. Thank you. Maarten, the initial question was about the challenges.
Yeah, I know. I look at always from the technical perspective. I look more for the adoption of the technology of blockchain than on the crypto side of blockchain. For me, the crypto side is more about all those cryptocurrencies that are out there. So we do have a network, Startale network, that is one of the most popular one in Japan. And it has everything that you need to have to explore the Web3 environment and the Web3 community. It has centralized exchange integrations. It has everything that you need for any Web3 community to go on. But what is missing for this mass adoption is the distribution channels. So we are looking for a way of bringing this technology to a player who already has existing users, who already has an existing fan base. And this is where that's why for Soneium, we are working with Sony Group and see this as an opportunity to tap into a new world of distribution channels who were not yet available in Web3. And I think to achieve mass adoption, I think for blockchain is ready for mass adoption. You have everything that you need to start with, but the distribution channels are like missing. And to tap in that new environment of already existing users that have millions or products that have billions of users, that's where you need to go with this technology. And this is where we with Sony are working on to get this technology integrated in that group to tap into that.
What kind of distribution channels?
Well, it's similar. It's like you have, as you look at Sony Group, there's many things. Sony Pictures, Sony Music, SIE, PlayStation, and so on.
Yeah.
Those are the users. And they are looking into utilizing this decentralized world and this data ownership that they need to have for the accessibility to all those cryptocurrency that you have as well to not play with, but to use it as well for their finance. And those distribution channels are needed to get this mass adoption happen.
Cool. Nicola?
Sure. Nowadays, most people interface with the internet through their mobile. And if you're building natively, like I like to do, crypto UX just sucks. Like if you use like a mobile wallet or whatever, you always have to do the game where you switch between application, either if you're not using the in-browser wallet. If you're doing any type of dApp, either iOS or Google just puts you off the store for no reason because you have transaction and they can get their 30% in or whatever. And a lot of people nowadays don't have a computer. They just, like all my banking, I do it on my phone. Just because it's much easier to interact with it. So the problem that we have is that there's no reliable way to do applications that interface with that new side of the internet, which is Web3. And there is no incentive for Google or Apple to develop in that sector. And maybe one could even argue they are working against it. So my, I guess, concern with mass adoption is it has to be easy for somebody to interact with the chain. And we can also like talk a little bit about the fragmentation of the chain, but it's like for me a second order issue. So this is like for me the most important thing. It just has to be easy to interact with it. For instance, I think a lot of you guys have some kind of hardware wallet, a ledger, a treasure, or whatever, and it just sucks to use it because you have to carry it around, and then you have to plug it into your PC or whatever, and you have to interact with whatever the web application or in the application on desktop, and I just don't want to use crypto because it just sucks, and that's basically why the whole reason behind it was we just want to open this frontier and see where we can bring it. Obviously, initially it's going to be DJs, but as we develop more in the mobile space, not just our team, but all the other people in the mobile space, we think it could come the new norm for mobile to support such things.
Cool. And so I think the other reason why not a lot of people get onboarded to crypto is that they get scared of like really complicated terms. And one of them is decentralization. So my other question is, how do you guys, let's start with you, Nicola, how do you guys balance decentralization in your project with the UX?
To be honest, we try to not compromise as much as we can. For a couple of things, it's just the dev time to implement everything decentralized. It just doesn't really translate into value for the user or for us. So, for instance, we still use Alchemy and whatever, even though it's centralized for our APIs in some of our applications. But yeah, that's kind of the compromises that you have to do as a startup. Really, you can't for every application create your own chain explorer or stuff like this. And for something that we want more, not only just in mobile but in general, we would like for more nodes to be run so that we can improve on that decentralization. For instance, we support Nimbus, we support Helios, and I hope that we will move in a direction where each of us moves in that direction where we use the chain, but we also give back to the chain by supporting such products.
Cool. Maarten?
Looking at this decentralization or governance, is this actually like the key point for mass adoption? First thing, are the users who are coming in all interested in that part? I would say no. And I think a small majority will be interested in this. Similar as why other people are interested in diving deep in TCP or HTTP and so on in the current Web2 space. We see it more from the decentralized side. We will make sure that we will have a decentralized network. That's one thing. Working together with the OP Foundation, where we will launch our stage 1, working together with stage 2, and so on. When it comes to the user itself, it's their choice to see if they want to participate and see this as a value for them. But for real mass adoption, I think it's their choice. But if you, from the protocol side, are confident from the decentralization, then it's up to the user to decide if they want to be part of this. Or see it as a value for them.
Cool. And what's Celo's take on that?
I mean, that can be answered at every level of the stack. I think to me, it's more the key lens to look at this from a viewpoint of sort of mass adoption are the tools that people are using going to be around in like 10 years, 50 years, 100 years, right? And I think it's important to have infrastructure across the entire stack that is resilient with respect to that. So I think I think you look at some of the design choices there, and you see probably more investment in decentralization than is needed, given sort of how early we are overall as an industry. But then to me also, I think there's some, clear lines, even around giving a user access to a custodial versus a non-custodial solution, right? And the implications that have, and the education that needs to come with that, the UI UX choices, right? So I think it's kind of like you don't want to over index at one part of the stack, but then have that sort of paradigm be easily different part, right? So what's the point of having someone be a purist at the application level, but then they're holding an asset that's centralized and can be frozen, right? So it's really looking at sort of the entire stack and trying to build in, especially when you think about from a kind of ecosystem perspective, and in Celo is sort of a layer one, some layer two, it doesn't really change that much there, right? It's like, is there a choice for people where they could be on sort of either end of the spectrum, right? And make these trade-offs. And you see that in reality, right? There are stable coins on Celo that are truly fully decentralized, right? And then centralized versions like USDC and Tether. You have sort of at the application level, you have some of those trade-offs. So I think that's kind of like, it's more of an, sort of not settling on one solution where you have sort of decentralization, but not enforceable across the stack.
It's hard to find a golden middle, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Brilliant. Rena?
And it was approaching decentralization, right? How are we approaching what am I yelling about?
It's how do you find the balance between keeping it decentralized and also with a good user experience, not to overcomplicate it?
Okay. Yes. So I think a lot of the things that Rene touched on are bang on. There's an approach that we've been taking, and I've heard it said that most people decentralize too quickly. I think most people decentralize the wrong way.
Okay.
The word itself has its own definition and framework. How we're approaching it is by hacking off some of the pieces and allowing that to go into our community. So previously we had our climate rounds. Those are now decentralized and run by members of our organization. The idea, the goal, the dream for our protocol is to be decentralized and in the hands of our users. However, with that being said, giving somebody some broken tools and telling them to build a ship isn't exactly going to end up successful for anyone. So we're working on what those upgrades could look like, mostly on the protocol level, but there is a dream of mine that one day that the program, the app, and the protocol itself will be run by our users. I don't think it's in the near future. However, moving towards that means accessibility, usability on all different levels, and context, that resource and knowledge base that people need to be able to hop in and contribute.
Thank you for mentioning the future. You just smoothly led me to my last question.
You're welcome.
Thanks. So my last question is that we just have a little time left. Share some updates, something exciting that is coming up in Gitcoin and the rest of it.
Yeah, so for those of you who haven't attended Devcon yet or did get a chance to catch it, Owaki just dropped his latest book on our multi-mechanism future, soon TM. And basically, we're taking some of our funding and just distribution methods, which is quadratic funding, retro PGF, and direct grants, and we're going to continue building up those mechanisms.
Okay.
And the sexy part about that, for those who find shit like this sexy, is that it all comes on top of Allo 2.0, 2.1. And the idea being that in the future, we won't have 3 or 4 mechanisms to distribute funding. We'll have 30 or 40.
Right.
And being able to take that in a Lego kit and build your own strategies so that anyone can spin up distribution to whatever communities they need to. So super pumped for that.
All right. Rene, Maarten, Nicola, 20-second pitch. Sorry.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Look, for us, like the next big milestone is really the transition to the L2, so L2 mainnet, which Marek, our CEO of C Labs, just announced yesterday, is slated for mid-January. So super exciting. Lots of work still to make that all happen. But we're excited.
Cool.
And then from Startale side, what I look most forward to is in the beginning of next year when the Soneium mainnet will be live. That's something that I'm really looking forward to. It's something I feel really excited about to really put it out there in the public.
Okay. Nicola, show that thing again.
we are working on an app store for decentralized applications, and we really want to push that and give a platform for the apps that have been shunned from the other stores until now.
All right, guys. Thank you for your insights. Thank you for your insights, and thank you guys for joining us. Thank you.